Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Pleasure Pulse. I'm your host, Roma Richardson, and you're tuned in to this show on ZIZ Radio, on Facebook, and YouTube, wherever you listen and tune into ZIZ. I'm so happy that you are joining me, and you'll soon meet my guests for another show this Tuesday night. It is now post-Valentine's, and you would have tuned into our show last week where we talked about how you can prepare for Valentine's, how you can protect your partners, yourself, and so on. So I'm really looking forward to having this conversation tonight where we will continue that conversation but focused on a post-Valentine's Day situation. So as usual, I like to give you all some time to gather the troops, let everybody know that Pleasure Pulse is live. So we will take a short break and then we will come right back. Welcome back to Pleasure Pulse. You're tuned in to another Tuesday evening show where we are talking about post-Valentine's and maybe the post-Valentine's era, because it could be an era, it could end up being an era for some of us. I'm joined by my two guests here. One is I want to say regular, kind of a regular. It will definitely be a regular because you'd have seen her last week and you're going to see her next week. Again, and I would like you all to introduce yourself as usual before we get into the show. Say whatever you want people to know about you.
Good evening. I am Lucine Pemberton Vaughan. I'm a health educator, and counselor, and rapid tester within the National AIDS Secretariat in the Ministry of Health. What I would like you to know about me is that I believe in love. I love talking about love and sex, so feel free. I am open for anything, discussion-wise.
Good day, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Matthias Ofrey. I'm the National AIDS Program Coordinator. I also love love. I believe love is very essential in our lives and also even as human beings. What most things we do are product of love and should be product of love, actually, because with that it is done wholeheartedly and without any much expectation. But despite that, we need some of them to be reciprocated, right? So I think life is love and love is life.
Mm-hmm. I like how you put that. It reminds me of this is me going into my very academic thinking, but bell hooks. I'm hoping some people are familiar with her. A very prolific American writer anyway. So she talks in one of her books all about love, which is recommended reading. And since it's Valentine's Day, Valentine's moment, the season of love, it's a good read for now. But she also talks about a love ethic and doing things with a love ethic, which is doing things through love. So building societies through love, running governments through love, communities through love, all of the things that you wouldn't usually associate with love. So I love I love that. So I wanted to talk about tonight and next week too, because we are going to be back next week to continue this conversation, the post-Valentine's Day moment. So Valentine's Day itself has so many feelings, considerations, thoughts, emotions, all sorts of things go into that one day on February 14th. For some people, it's the day that makes or breaks their relationship. For some people, it's what determines what happens for you in another 9 months. For some people, it determines what happens to you for the rest of your life. So I wanted to, especially after our conversation last week, follow up and talk about some of the psychological and physical outcomes of Valentine's Day. So What would you say are some of the feelings? And I know both of you work in the Ministry of Health, so I imagine that you engage with lots of people centered around love for, you know, various reasons. So what would you say are some of the feelings that people, coupled or uncoupled, might experience after Valentine's Day?
Loneliness, abandonment, shame and fear, disgust, disappointment. I find for some young persons, they would have gotten caught up in the moment, something that they didn't really plan for. And then they would come back with feelings of guilt and shame, especially those young persons who would have been raised in church, and you know that their church had certain expectations of them and their appearance, and so they come back with that sense of guilt and regret, and sometimes shame. Also abandonment. I have a client who has multiple partners, and on that day, Valentine's Day, he gave out a number of gifts, bouquets to one, massage for the other, hoping that in the evening that he would have gotten his gift. He stayed by his phone, not a text, not a call. Maybe somebody would have taken the flower and gone by somebody else for their flower to be
regifted. Gosh.
Yes. Then there is a feeling of abandonment. Some people, they did not get that gift that they had long anticipated. And where does that leave them in terms of their relationship? Where do I go, or how do I confront this person and let them know that I am no longer interested?
Any feelings in that?
And one of the things I think I would like to add to that is the fact that also some people feel loved that day.
Yeah, it's like positive emotions.
Yeah. Like that's the first Valentine with somebody, or that's a Valentine with somebody for a long time, you know, and that create room for more happiness. You know, like for the young ones as well, young folks, you see, the first time they're going off Valentine with my boyfriend or something, they all feel very excited. But we have to find a way to mesh both emotions together, because both emotions affect people psychologically. Right. All right, so the one about the fear, you know, it gives room for even deeper, it could connect to depression, you know, because when people start feeling like I am not worthy enough, you know, right. This is what I could get, or nobody gave me anything, just like the example that my colleague rightly indicated here. He did all he could do. He was expecting a reciprocation of that emotion that he has poured out but never received anything. That alone, that process alone can be very depressing. And next year, Valentine, he'll be fearful.
Yeah.
You understand? He'll become fearful, and as such, it might somehow affect him. He'll start asking himself, should I even go ahead, do the same thing, you know, express my love again? Will I even receive love back in return? You know, so that can actually play a vital role in how much it could affect a person. You know, and if you look at it, Valentine has passed. How many persons truly express or receive genuine love?
Oh, okay. That's it.
Because if it's just on just one day, right. You know, what I do with my partner is I don't have to wait for a special moment to let you know I love you by buying flowers or by surprising with some chocolate or something in your office. I believe every moment counts, and every moment should be very valuable, because hey, You never know. Not everybody sees Valentine, you know.
I agree with you, doctor. I want my love to be 365 days a year.
Including Valentine's.
I love it in the back, meaning within the confines of our private space.
Okay.
And I want it to be celebrated in public too.
Facts.
So I want that when my other colleagues are getting their bouquets,
Yes.
that I don't look as if I don't have anybody.
True.
I want the world to know that I am loved too and I am special.
Yeah, and also it should go both ways, you know.
Yes.
If you look at it, Valentine just passed, and I can bet you that if you ask about, let's say you ask 100 men, how many of you received a gift or a flower, right, to express that we showcase love? I tell you, a high percentage of them will say they didn't, but they did.
Yeah,
give
they
out.
gave.
Most men will give out.
And you know why?
Because- Why?
Because I don't think you want to know.
We're going
Listen.
into societal norms and expectations. Go ahead.
Probably not, but I realized that whatever gift I gave my husband, I used to go on Amazon and pick out the best gifts, and my husband was like, yeah, I appreciate. But there was something that he appreciated more than that. And he couldn't wait until night come. And so doctor, maybe I just tell myself, okay, if that is what you love, I'm gonna try and give you the best of that.
You shouldn't be double standard. If
No, it's
the
what he
woman
likes.
wants to be appreciated and valued in the open, the man want that as well. You know, just like I think just as men will appreciate that, would also be nice to have a bouquet of flower in my office and my colleagues pass and say, wow, what a lovely flower it is. Who got that for you? I'll say, it's my partner. It's my wife that gave it to me. And that alone showcases that, hey, I'm also loved and I have somebody. Not only a watch, not only the shirt, but because this is done in a regular.
Yes.
Just as the man do also in a regular and tell his woman or tell his lady, hey, I value you, I love you and appreciate you. But that if you expect to be expressed in public like that, the man also want to receive something too.
Okay, so then you know what it boils down to? Knowing your partner and giving them what they want.
True.
I used to spend money on nice, expensive negligee. And I would have costumes. So last year, I was that cat. And the other year, I was a tiger. And I was parading around the bed with my long tail and my horns. And he couldn't wait to haul it off. And he says, you look better naked. And so I gave him what he liked.
Right.
So it's knowing your partner.
Yes.
True.
That's
And
definitely
making
what.
them happy.
Yeah.
And effective communication is very
That
vital.
is
you know.
definitely what
And
I got from the
sometimes
conversation.
you might be giving somebody a flower, but what they need is your presence. Sometimes you might be giving somebody, you're always there, but not even showing them that, hey, listen, I don't have a lot, but I just have a card to tell you that I love you. And I notice every card that I sent to my wife, I found out that she keeps records of all of them. It's like a pile of those stuff. And when they go through those stuff, it shows them, hey, listen, you know,
This
this person
person
truly
loves me.
care about
Yes.
me, you know? And even when in tough times, they go through it and say, you know what, it's just a process. It'll pass. This person truly care about me. So that's why effective communication is very vital for people to understand their partner and their partner understand them. So tell them what they want. Nobody's a mind reader. Have a conversation.
Yes, I love that, because when you two were talking, I was like, yeah, definitely what I'm getting from this conversation is the importance of communication. Before we started the show, you said something about expectations. I don't remember the quote or the saying.
Expectation is the mother of all disappointment.
Yes,
Yeah.
that. So nobody's a mind reader. A couple shows I think ago, I said, you know, who don't ask don't get.
Yeah.
Closed mouths don't get fed. It's
Exactly.
important to communicate, and that's how you also ensure that you are on the same page when it
Right.
comes to expectations, when it comes
Precisely.
to how you interpret Valentine's Day, when it comes to the value that it places, that it plays in your life or not. So you will know, okay, Valentine's Day is extremely important to me. It's a day I look forward to for the whole year, and you will also know that for your partner, they're perfectly fine to let it pass without even, acknowledging it, right?
True.
So it's important for both of you to know where each other stands, so that you can know how much you need to compromise and whether or not you're willing
To
to
compromise
compromise,
at all.
because you might decide, no, I want somebody who feels the same way as I do
Right.
about Valentine's Day, right? So those emotions that people might experience, which are vast. You mentioned a lot of emotions, disappointment,
Fear.
abandonment, fear, and so on. You also mentioned love, connection. How can people process some of those emotions? Maybe including love, because let's say that this is a new relationship. It is your first Valentine's Day together. I liked how you talked about, for young people especially, it might be their first Valentine's Day where they got a gift from somebody other than their parents, right? So, there's a lot of excitement as well. How do people process those emotions? Because Valentine's Day, for some people, is also the moment where it's like, this is when we should take our relationship to the next level. People might not necessarily be ready for that. They might feel pressured to, or it might happen. How do people deal with those complex feelings that they might have after Valentine's Day?
I always say that you have to take time out in the quiet periods and go through exactly how I feel. And it starts by owning it. If you were embarrassed, if you were lonely, if you felt neglected, do not feel that you are immature. Own it. Because you can't help how you feel, but you can help how you deal with it. But first, in order for you to deal with it in a healthy way, you first have to own it. So yes, I felt this way. And then I said, was it really realistic? Okay. You know that you just meet this person. He doesn't know much about you. You were expecting flowers and an evening of fun. But did you communicate that with him? So was it realistic for him to know what you wanted? Okay, all right. So then where did I go wrong? Was it that I was overly, help me doc, ambitious?
Ambitious and
Or
anxious about it too.
Or I fell short because I didn't put my cards on the table. But some people feel afraid to say what they want because you don't want it to seem as if you are begging for it.
Right.
Or that you have to tell him how to treat you as a lady.
Yeah,
And
all
all
words
of
be
these
rejected.
are culturally defined. But hey, you have to give people a chance to step up and to treat you the way that you would like to be treated. So if you went wrong this year, if you did not communicate enough, do not give up. Simply use it as a learning experience. What about those who put in all the work? I said what I wanted, I gave, and I felt as if I was treated less than I should have been. Then that is the time for you to not feel worthless, but you look within you and validate yourself that, hey, you are worthy of the love that you were looking for, that you are still special, that you are still valuable. But it's just that some people are in relationships where others may not recognize your worth. So stay on top of it and don't give up on love. If you were disappointed, use every boulder as a stepping stone and learn from your experiences. There would be a lot more Valentines.
True. I would say unexpressed expectation give rise to disappointment. Even if a person express their expectation to me, or let's say they don't express expectation to me, I may not even see the need because I am not used to that. Or even if I was used to it and got disappointed, I made a change, a mental conscious change of my approach towards Valentine, and as such, my approach have changed, and I am in a new relationship now. If that new partner don't communicate to me, and this is what I expect, she will be disappointed, right? So with men and women, we need that communication. Express yourself so I can know if I end up meeting that standard that you wish for yourself, at least I can do a little bit and say, listen, this is how far I can get, this is how far I can go, but to show you that I truly love you. You know, and I come to understand something that, just listen to her, I come to understand that truly it's all about first understanding the partner, understanding your partner, and not thinking that people should just know, you know, because we think that, oh man, you should know that you're supposed to buy me a flower, you should know that you're supposed to buy me a watch or take me out. Maybe he did it before and
it didn't go well.
You say you don't like flower.
Right.
Let's say I was dating somebody I never liked flower and end up not being that person. That's my first date. The next person I'm dating with, I might, you know,
carry that.
Humans are creatures of habit. I might carry that to the next relationship, and if that person does not express himself and say, hey, listen, I like this way, you know, I will do it the same way, and then that will cause friction, you know.
Yeah.
So that is why when we are speaking about processing it, we have to take it stage by stage. What could have been, and before you said that it is important that we know our partners, we must first know ourselves.
True.
Know what we would like, know and set healthy boundaries. But I believe that you will come to that. I don't want to preempt you.
Actually, the question was, if I got it right, the question was, how do people process
feelings?
You know, and one of the ways we can process this feeling, as you rightly indicated, is acceptance. Accept what has happened, right? And start laying strategies on how to navigate through that emotion, because emotions are fickle, right? It fades, you know, and with that now we lay strategies that will help us, you know, be more solid and firm to address next challenge that comes, you know. And I think it's important, you know, it's important that we know that, you know, acceptance, not denial, and having a conversation. And sometimes it gets to, you know, in terms like those that get depressed. All right, seek counseling, seek for help, have a conversation, because sometimes just talking to yourself is not enough.
Right.
All right, you want to talk to somebody that will perhaps give you counsel, and that's why, you know, there are departments that help with that. There are people that specialize in that. In fact, even us, we do counseling, you know, and you can, in the National Secretary, we do counseling. We can have a conversation with you and also connect you to even areas where we feel, to people that we feel that will help you much more better than we do, even areas that we can't help you. You know? You want to say something, Lucien?
Acceptance.
Yeah.
I like that. But how do I accept that my partner seems not to be the romantic type at all? He talks a good talk, but this was the day when I really expected him to pull out all the spots,
walk the talk.
all of the stops. Do I just accept this? But I want to turn that into, yes, you first have to accept that, okay, he may not be, because a lot of men didn't grow up in homes where mommy was loving to that, and so you have now had the perfect opportunity to see him in that love sphere and to pick out areas that you can begin working on, because we also teach people how to love us.
Yes.
Yes, and create a culture that works for both of you.
Right.
Yes.
I like that. Both of you.
Both.
Not what social media
Yes.
dictates that it should look like.
Our
Unrealistic
society.
expectations. You
Yeah.
know, and that causes hurt.
Yes.
Because you're not living for people, you're living for yourself. What works for you works for you. You know, if I decide not to take, I and my wife decide not to go to a fancy restaurant to eat, but we decide to go to the beach to just hang out and relax and have a conversation, eat grapes and eat whatever we made. It's up to us what
Yes.
we feel is best for us and work for us.
I like that. You hear that? Us.
Yes.
So
Hear
that it calls for compromise. Because one of the things that I don't like to hear, I don't like Valentine's, and my partner gonna just have to understand that this is me.
Yeah.
There are some things that you would have to compromise on. Now,
Facts.
there are other areas that are non-negotiable. Don't tell me, oh, my partner doesn't like condoms, so I have to.
Yes.
Because those are issues of life and death. But how you express love, remember that we are in a relationship generally to make each other happy. So he says that if my wife and I decide, good for you. I like that.
Yes. Yeah. It should also always be about the
Us.
people who are in that relationship. And that's oftentimes difficult to do, you know, to create that boundary or that wall around your relationship when social media, society, you know, people in the church, people anywhere might be telling you that your relationship needs to look a particular way.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
Right.
it's the people in the relationship who have to be in the relationship and deal with
Exactly.
the consequences, all the benefits, the
Right.
pleasures of being in that relationship. So communication between the two of them is really what should guide, you know, their actions, their communication, and so on. And, you know, we started to kind of get into it, you know, what if my understanding and my feelings towards Valentine's Day are different to my partner's singular partners plural, what happens? So for some, Valentine's Day might prove perfect alignment,
Right.
and for others it might show misalignment. It might even reveal some red flags, like you talked about condom use. How do you, and other red flags, of course. What are the key elements of healthy, aligned relationships?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Lucy. Go ahead.
I would say respect. Respect me as an individual. Respect my values and my principles. Respecting my boundaries. For someone, let me give you an example. I was brought up in a Christian home, and I believe that you should have one partner, monogamous. And some people believe, some men really believe, you see how so many women out there, that can't work. So one man really should be having at least 3 women, because what is going to happen? Some women going to feel lonely this Valentine's Day. And so you know have to, and that is why it's important before you get too intimate, communicate. Communicate before you copulate. I mean, you have to know their mindset, their values, their beliefs, and opinions on love and intimacy. And so you determine if you are going to take it to the next step, not to jump out there and then you already realize that this is not something that I want to be in, and the hurt has already set in. So for me, respect for my values, beliefs, and my boundaries. I can expound some more, but Doctor, you want to say
If I may add to that, which you've said almost everything. If I may add to that, it's the question indicates. Read the question again, because I need people to really hear, to understand what you're saying.
Okay, so I asked, for some Valentine's Day might be proof of perfect alignment, and for others it might show misalignment. It might even reveal some red flags. What would you say are the key elements of healthy, aligned relationships?
One
Key
is respect.
elements of healthy alignment. Because truly, you know, when it comes to relationship, not everybody is really kind of really aligned, you know. You know, because people have different perception, people have different view to life and belief system, you know, and desires, you know. So it and that alone can actually determine whether we are in sync, because there are minor things that can be learned and changes can be made. You know, I may not like Valentine, but I can compromise to do that, right? But what are other things that can really align? One, in my opinion, your value for self, as you really said, value for self covers a wide range of the fact that, are you health conscious? Are you emotionally matured conscious, you know? And are you a person that, what's your perception about life? You understand? Because some people just feel like I have to live day to day. And as such, it's okay if I take some risky behavior, it's all right. You know, I don't mind just drinking a lot now and again, because that alone makes me feel that perhaps, in my opinion, we are not really, what's your belief system in terms of God or health or relationship, all of that build up. As she really indicated that some persons believe in polygamy, while some persons believe in being monogamous, right? So that effective communication creates a room for perfect alignment. Not, let me say, when I say perfect alignment, I don't mean they are perfect as a person.
Yeah.
Because as an individual, you come with your challenges and the person come with their own challenges. However, you build up yourself to get to a point where you can live effectively and efficiently together. Because one of my saying that I always say is, I don't seek perfection in people, because I'll be laying expectations that can never be met, because nobody is perfect. All right, but for us to come to a point of alignment is finding out few vital areas that I feel, or that we feel, that we can really work with, that we speak the same language. It has to be the same language, you know, for us to grow.
So then, doctor, so we have said respect, and you just spoke of what?
Effective communication was one of those
and
things.
compromise, and I would say honesty.
Yeah, and I think you also got at the importance of having similar core values.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
And I am going to throw in open and honest communication, but underscoring the honest part. There are persons with STIs, certain sexually transmitted infections, and they know. But this Valentine that has just passed, they were still having unprotected sex with others, and it baffles me. Why would I, in the name of love, infect someone else? And that is why we are saying that it really boils down to self-love, because nobody would have really given you anything or infected you. You allow yourself to be infected, and that's why we said it all begins with self-love, setting your boundaries. So, doctor, the Valentine just gone, I would have said, for me, protection is key, and that's why our slogan this month was what?
Protection equals
affection.
Affection equals protection.
So you have to protect yourself first before you can even think of protecting your partner.
And if you also look at it, that's why I indicated about health consciousness. You know, some people just go along and don't
They
care.
don't go doctor.
You know,
They've never been
nothing.
to the dentist.
And if you're going as you're going.
That's one of the red flags.
Yeah, it is. You have a partner. You are always going to do your health checks, and your partner is not, or you're not encouraging your partner to do that. Does not really show that you truly love the person. I want to do my check. I said, babe, can we go and do the checks? Or have you done your check? You need to get an appointment to get your checks done. That alone shows that you love the person, and that alone shows that you're more conscious about the person, and that alone can create a culture that maybe the person don't have.
Yeah.
That they can actually start, emulating and then become a thing of a family. That hey, every year, end of the year, before the end of the year, we must do our general health checks. You do what you have to do as a male. I have to do as do as a female. I have to do what I have to do as a male. But we go together.
Yeah.
It's a joint effort.
Doctor, there are some things that are just a big turn on for me. Number one, I love to see a man who takes care of his children. So I like to see men taking their children to church and to school and shopping. And another thing is seeing a man buying condoms. It shows that you love yourself and you are serious about life and health and protection. So I wouldn't mind being aligned with you, because if you don't love you, you can't possibly love me. And so to me, that is a big turn on. A red flag is when you hear your partner say, I don't really believe in condom use, because if they are not using it with you, chances are they're not using it with anybody else. And then you could see the consequences of that post-Valentine.
Yes.
And we give condoms. Ministry of Health, we provide free condoms.
Yeah,
and in fact, on the 13th, just before Valentine, we had an outreach. In fact, it was like a booth. We had a booth in the square where people can come get their condoms. We can educate on how to properly use condom.
Right.
Because truly, you need protection to actually showcase the true love that you really have for that person. So that's why it's important that we show our loves by protecting ourselves as we end up protecting our partners.
And nobody would love you more than you love yourself.
True.
So you put out your value. So nobody would see a shirt for $20 and say, wow, that looks so good. Can I give you $60 for that shirt? Who does that? If you act like you're $20, you might get $20 or $10.
Okay, so my next question, building on that conversation, about discovering misalignment, and this is before we take a short break and then come back. What would you advise if people have learned that their connections or relationships are misaligned?
Effective communication start there. We have a talk. People don't talk these days.
We don't talk ever.
People just want to take actions. And somebody was telling me how, all of a sudden the guy just ghosted her. You don't have to do that. All right, have a conversation. Listen, this is truly not working. This is what my expectations are. This is what you are. This is your belief. This is my belief. And there are clashes. We could just part and be friends.
Yes.
And that alone shows level of maturity than just ghost the person or just disappear. You understand? I feel like we need to come to a point where we can truly start having conversations, and also sometimes therapy helps, because some of the things can be fixed.
Yeah.
Because as I said, unexpressed expectations leads to frustration. All right, and frustration leads to disaster. All right, so if they express themselves, you may not be able to express yourself just to me alone, but if you have somebody else that could perhaps agitate you to express yourself, now I will know, oh, I didn't know this all this time.
Yeah.
Right, so the counseling is important as well, and also the ability to compromise falls in as well. Bruce?
But sometimes, Doc, when all of that would have been fleshed out, we would have to part ways amicably, as you rightly say. But it all brings us back to the importance of knowing your worth. And Valentine's, I told my school children, when you see that big red, it was for you to stop. Don't rush into anything. When I see the big red light, I know I have to stop, examine what you are about to do and the consequences, and then you make an informed decision. My father always say, you generalize before you specialize. So Valentine's Day, nobody, I can't put my beliefs on others, but it is important for you to know what you are getting yourself into, because it is not so easy to come out after you find out that you are misaligned, because sex is a binder. And if you would have taken that deep, that ultimate step, then it's much harder to step back out.
To disentangle yourself.
Right, so you have to be mindful of that. Not that you should stay, but we are just saying a learning experience.
Sure.
Don't be too hasty to take it to the other level. Take time to know her. It's not an overnight thing.
It's interesting because I generally think that we don't really date here. We don't date at all, and some of us don't date much. So sometimes we get into relationships not even knowing that we are misaligned because we haven't had certain conversations. It's when you're already in the relationship, you're already, however much time down the line, you're already entangled, maybe there might already be a child, is when you learn that actually we don't want the same things, or we believe different things.
You know, right?
Yeah.
It's culture, you know, because when I spoke to my daughter about dating, she said, Mommy, as soon as you start speaking to one person, everybody say you're there with them.
Yeah.
And so somebody now coming on the scene would have already heard, oh, she's with this, she's with it. Yeah.
So you're gonna be worse if they think you're with all,
right.
all of
Exactly.
them.
And perception, it's destructive, you know.
Yes.
In fact, my wife is writing. She's writing a book on the effect of culture. You know, how culture can actually make and break us. What are the things that we need to truly, really change that is really destroying us? You know, imagine just a conversation she's having with somebody, nothing else. You know, that has been presumed to be something more erotic or romantic or intimate, which is not. It's just a conversation. And nothing wrong that, for example, when they see two persons just standing talking, oh, those people date together, or those people are together, but it's not. It may just be a help or a conversation. In fact, I was having a conversation some years ago, and the lady was just standing, stopped me and said, hey, Doc, do you mind if I ask you this question? You know, and just talking, do you know somebody took a picture of me talking to that lady and sent to my to my lady and say, watch what I'm saying. You understand? And that alone can cause problem. You understand? So what are the things that culture is really affecting, that as in negatively, that we could really change?
Yeah.
It goes back to self-love, believing in the fact that you know who you are, and sticking by and living life on your own terms.
Facts.
Because if you allow culture to navigate your path, you're not going to end up well. I mean, people's expectations. So you have to know what you're about. Don't stick with one person because people might think that you have been around. What you do is that when you are in those relationships, those platonic relationships, that you operate above board.
Yeah.
So that nobody can
give room to know people, give room to have the conversation, give room to date, really.
Right.
Because what you're hearing out there may not be factual. Because when you get to know the person, because what you're hearing is maybe third hand, fourth hand, or fifth hand information. But when you're talking to the person, you can actually decipher if that person is actually telling you the truth or not. Because that alone creates an environment for you to really learn who that person is and not what people are saying. You know, and that really helps.
And if you find somebody who is quick to form an opinion of you based on what others say, then please, you wouldn't want that person anyway. So that's good.
That's the beginning of controlling.
Exactly, that's red flag, because the person is coming in with
I don't know what's redder than a red flag.
Red flag.
I'm a rude, deep red something. Okay, and it's funny because, like, as you're talking, I remember this tweet that I saw the other day, which was like, the original tweet was people who walk around with their water bottles, like reusable water bottles, think they're so better than everybody else. And then the reply to the tweet was, this is like are the perfect example of you can't even drink your water and mind your business because like that's all you're doing, and the people are just so aggressive towards you. And I said we would take a break. I didn't even realize the time. It has flown so quickly as usual. But I want to wrap up by just asking you this question quickly for anybody who is maybe seeing that there are some pink flags in relationships, or you know, some things that they are growing a little bit of concern around or not sure about. How can people improve the health of their relationships? And then that question will bring us to the end of the show. How can people improve the health of their romantic relationships? We talked about communication. That's a huge one.
Okay. Well, sorry, I was going
Can you say communication? You can say
because
it,
you have to be
Is the foundation.
able.
Yes.
Yes.
Is the
First, you have to identify those areas, speak honestly and openly about it, compromise, and then you make a plan as to moving forward. Okay, you don't like this. What can I do better? It is teamwork. Teamwork.
You can speak
something
honestly,
else.
respectfully.
Yes.
Because you can express yourself honestly but disrespectfully, and that information won't be heard. Like myself, you could be shouting and talking, you could be as honest as you can be, but I'm not hearing anything you say because you're shouting, you're making noise. I can understand. But if you express yourself in a more subtle, calm way, I will hear every word and take it into consideration, right? So speaking honestly but respectfully.
And using I languages. So don't say, you didn't buy me any flowers and you don't care how I feel.
or you make me feel
And
this
that's
way.
something
Right.
that needs to
And
be
you can
eradicated.
simply say, I felt neglected when everybody else got flowers and
I didn't.
And I didn't.
And be open for conversation, counseling. Because that's the thing, that people don't want to talk. People don't want to talk to other persons to help. I understand that it's a small community, and as such, that alone can be very devastating in terms of sense of confidentiality. However, there's some still few persons you could come and talk to about. If you could talk to us about your health, you could talk to us about anything. And I can assure you, confidentiality is something we don't take. In fact, it's our foundation for our work. We ensure that your information is confidential. The way we can help you, we do our best to help you, and then we connect you to areas where we feel we can help you. All right.
And last, but by no means least, that M&E component, monitoring and evaluating. So over the period of time, if you realize that your partner is doing better, then you praise them. Say, I appreciate, I see you making an effort too. However, if you realize that things aren't changing, then you give them a gentle reminder. And then you will know when you would have had enough, when you can take your exit
Yes.
gracefully.
Yes, I hear that and I agree with it completely. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of Pleasure Pulse. I really enjoyed tonight's conversation and I hope you did too, especially now that you're dealing with the follow-on from Valentine's Day. So as usual, Pleasure Pulse is a safe, inclusive space for everybody where no conversation or topic is too big or too small. I will see you all next Tuesday, and as usual, I wish you a pleasurable evening. Bye.